welcome to a very special edition of Property Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan, on India's first real estate business channel, Magicbricks Now. This is part 2 of our New Year Eve special. So if you're planning to buy, sell or invest in property this new year, then sit back and stay with us. We have the country's foremost experts in our studio and they will answer any and every question related to real estate. So whether it's buying, selling or whether you're stuck with legal, tax and home finance issues, all those questions will get answered here today. With us is a formidable panel of experts. Ashwinder Raj Singh from Gurgaon. He heads a residential business at JLL. To answer all your tax and legal queries, we have Vinay Singh with us in the Mumbai studio. And Kartik Jhaveri is also here from Transcend Consulting, who will tell you how to finance your dream home. So let's get cracking and let's take our first question of the day. Manish has written in and he says, I am 50 years old. I can pay 1 lakh rupees in installments every month. How much loan can I get from a bank? Kartik, is that the right way to calculate your loan eligibility?
Not exactly. You know, what you need to do, Manish, is now you can pay 1 lakh. Very nice. Now, the thing is, it's a different question whether the bank will allow you to pay that 1 lakh. Now, if you actually take 1 lakh as your benchmark, then your income minimum needs to be in the range of about 2 to 2.5 lakhs. Because most financiers would look at an installment to income ratio of about 40 to maximum 50% in special cases. So therefore, if they allow you to pay 1 lakh, that means your income has to be at least 2 to 2.5 lakhs per month, right? So that is one way of looking at it. Now coming to the question of how much loan will you get, now that depends on your age and the retirement age. So let's assume retirement is at 60, which means you've got a 10-year tenure, which most financiers will offer you, and that would translate into a loan of about 70 to 80 lakhs. If there is a possibility of seeing some pension income or some post-retirement income also flowing in, maybe people would allow you to go from a 12-year to a 15-year tenure, and in that case, your loan with the current rates of interest that are prevailing can go up to about say 90 to 1 crore as well, or maybe 1.05 crores, sorry. So that's really a broad range, 80 lakhs to about 1 crore and 5 lakhs, broadly speaking.
Right. Kartik, if you could also take us through this. You said 40% is what banks would most probably be willing to give you, 40% of your income as a loan. Now, in case of Manish is looking at retirement probably 10 years down the line. Does that percentage of income that you can get as loan, the eligibility in that sense, does that go down?
No, not really. The reason for that is because, if you're earning 100 rupees, for example, the bank wants to know that, you've got enough money for your own lifestyle, for your own personal expenditure and things that you are doing. They also want to check if you've got any other EMIs, like your personal loan EMI or maybe a car loan EMI or something else which is going on. So, which is why most banks are not comfortable going beyond maybe 40 or 50%. But then, now, if you actually had an income of, say, maybe 10 lakh rupees a month, then the comfort level for that bank also goes pretty high, depending on the kind of industry and the kind of nature of job that you do. So, it's subjective, but as a rule of thumb, you can assume that 40 to 50% at the upper limit would be allowable. Some people would even be conservative, some institutions, and they would not allow more than a 30 or 35% in terms of installment to income ratio. So, therefore, the benchmark that we use is that, okay, one, look at 1,000 rupees per as an EMI per lakh one way, and then whatever is the EMI that you are able to pay, you need to have at least two times or maybe 3 times that kind of income to be able to support and afford that EMI.
Right. So if you are saying that you can pay an EMI of 1 lakh per month, your income should be 2 to 3 times that EMI which you're willing to pay. Okay, Manish, hope that answers your question. Let's move on. Vineet Pugalia has sent in his query via email. Now, Vineet says that he booked a 2 BHK in 2009 in Avenues by MRMGF in North Chennai. Now, the developer received approvals from government agencies by 2010. He signed the agreement in late 2010 and he was promised possession in 24 months with 6 months grace period. Now, the agreement says that the developer will pitch ₹5 per square foot as compensation if there is a delay. Now, the property is still under construction. He doesn't expect that it will complete in the next 7 months. And he also says that the agreement that was made is a one-sided agreement. What are the steps he can take to make a better appeal in terms of compensation? All settlements will be only done during the handover. How can you actually put a clause like that, Vinay? All settlements only during the handover.
Yes, settlement probably would happen at that time. What is important is that when you say agreement, you and the builder both have agreed to certain terms which are provided for in that agreement. If you were not comfortable with that, you shouldn't have agreed to it. This is the point of time when you need to negotiate with the builder. And I think increasingly, if you are a little tough on the conditions and insist on negotiating, things will change for the better. Today, a builder just puts an agreement in front of you and says, take it or leave it. That is because most people do not negotiate. Now, once you have signed this agreement, it is a very difficult position for you to go back on it. Unless you can establish that there was some form of coercion or any of the elements which generally vitiate a contract, it's going to be very difficult for you to argue that you are not, you are entitled to
So
a higher
what does he do?
compensation.
What does he do then?
He can try and prove that in some manner he was coerced into doing it, or he had no choice to sign it. That's, as I said, it's a difficult proposition. You shouldn't agree to such a thing in the first place.
Okay, but does he have any redressal, any form of redressal whatsoever? Can he go to court? What can he do?
The consumer forum would be your best bet. The other forums, I am sure that you will stand a very low chance. But consumer forum does tend to give you a higher amount of compensation on these things than the regular courts. So that is something that you can look on. For example, if the builder has said that he will charge you a higher rate of interest for delays, you could argue that you should be entitled to the same thing. Now, that is something that you could look at, but I mean, no one can guarantee you that you will succeed on this ground.
Right. So go to the consumer court, and that's probably the best way that you can get your money out over here, or get your compensation from the developer. Ashwinder, I would like to bring you in here. You, at the beginning, you just told us some time back that it is a buyer's market. Now, what do you mean when you say it's a buyer's market? When I go in to sign these contracts, can I actually negotiate for better terms with the developer? Is that really happening?
See, whenever supply is more than demand, the buyer tends to have an edge. And I think I would tend to agree with my colleague who's been on the panel that you need to be very careful as to what you agree and sign, because after you've signed and then you start disputing it, it's a long drawn process and nobody has the time. So these are points, and at this point in time, definitely buyer has an edge, and you can really negotiate on these terms. You can negotiate on payment terms, you can negotiate on interest terms. Another thing you can negotiate is that if you are being charged interest, you should also be paid interest at the same rate, and there should not be any differentiation on those particular aspects. So definitely at this point in time, consumers have an edge, and consumers have always had an edge if we really look at it from that perspective. So these things should be looked at. There should be an advisor. If you are not aware of taxation, you're not aware of what has been put in the agreement, always best to have a good real estate advisor, a top-notch advisor with you to help you out taking the buying decision.
Right. But Ashwinder, frankly, I mean, very, very, realistically speaking, if you were to look, how many developers actually are willing to negotiate on that agreement? You say, I mean, we hear every expert who comes in on the channel saying this, but I have not heard of a single buyer saying that, yes, he's gone back, he's negotiated and he got a better deal on the agreement with the developer. Have you heard of any such example?
Yeah, so what happens, Kavita, is, if you are getting a property which is a 25, 40, 50 lakh odd property, it comes in the retail domain, and it becomes difficult for the developer also to kind of give an option to everybody as to decide on what you want in the agreement. But the moment you move to a luxury segment and you have far and few clients, the developer is pretty open to negotiation on the agreement specifications. So it depends what segment you are talking about, because we need to be practical also.
Okay, so that means a small home buyer is anywhere at a loss. He just has to get what the developer doles out. Even if it is a buyer's market, not a very good situation to be in. Hopefully the regulator will come through and set that right. Let's move on. Atul Hegde posts this query on our website. He says that he wants to buy a 2 BHK house with, and the area that he's looking at is 1100 to 1200 square feet in Bangalore. His budget is 55 lakh rupees. He wants good connectivity with MG Road. He would prefer a grade A or a grade B developer. He wants to know whether he should buy a ready to move in or an under construction property. He's looking at it as an end user. He's also looking for 12% appreciation in the next 3 years. So that's quite a laundry list of demands. Ashwinder, what would you say?
Yeah, so, yes, I would suggest him to look at North Bangalore. areas like Hennur Road are very well connected with the MG Road. The budget which he's talking about, he would be in a position to look at some good options in that budget. So North Bangalore is a great option for the kind of demands that Mr. Hegde has. And he will have to look at properties which are ready to move in or which are nearing construction, because he's looking at end use. So he should not take a risk and look at some pre-launches or look at properties which have just started construction, and focus on ready to move in properties or nearing construction, nearing completion properties. I also feel in the next 2-3 years he can expect a good return on investment of anything between 15 to 20% in this area.
15 to 20%. So Atul, you should consider yourself a lucky man here. You're almost getting everything that you want for. Look at Hennur in North Bangalore. Ashwinder also says that he wants to buy into a property with a grade A or grade B developer. Do you have enough supply from developers like these?
Oh yes, he is going to get, Bangalore is a good market. Overall quality of developers is very good. We generally don't face issues where, not majority where, there are issues in terms of delivery not happening or certain major, loopholes there. So Bangalore is a good market. Developers have been having a good track record. He will have plenty category A, B developers there from where he can choose.
Okay, now this is beginning to sound like utopia to me. However, we have at least one market where we can look at good growth and we can also look at a safe investment.
Yeah, because Kavita, it is all relative. So when you start comparing markets, markets like Bangalore definitely start having an edge, because you start comparing it with certain other markets where we have seen more issues.
Right. So Bangalore there comes up trumps in terms of consumer safety. It's a much better market as far as safety of your investment goes. A special edition of Property Hotline, and our experts Ashwinder, Kartik and Vinay are still with us. We are answering all your queries related to real estate today. Next up is a question that's coming through Facebook. Vijay writes in and he says that a housing project is offering a scheme called the pre-EMI scheme, where the builder will pay the interest. So the builder will not have, so the buyer, will not have to pay any EMI till possession. Now this project is in Sion. Obviously he wants to know whether it is a safe investment. What would you say, Ashwinder?
No, it is a good investment. See, ultimately it is about how do you kind of make it attractive. So there are various ways. That's where I keep on saying that there are a lot of, innovative stuff that the developers are doing to clear off the inventory which has been really piling up. So, you either give a payment plan where you are doing, 20% now, 80% on possession, or you say, okay, I'll pay the interest for the first 1 year. What you call in the finance jargon, it is like, you are taking up the subvention cost or you're taking up the interest cost. It is also an indirect way of taking loan from the client, where the client takes the loan and the developer pays the pre-MI, or developer pays part of the installment. So people have become creative, innovative, looking at the current market, and they are trying to figure out what is it that suits the customer, which is good for the market in many ways than others, because then there are people who will take a buying decision. So
Ashwinder, you're saying that this is a backdoor discount that the developer is offering you?
Yeah, it's a way of, it's a surrogate discount that the developer is offering, not directly but indirectly.
Right. I would like to get Kartik in over here. Kartik, I'm not very comfortable with the fact that the developer is paying my EMI. What if he defaults? What if it gets delayed? Because isn't this going to impact my CIBIL score? Would you recommend a scheme like this?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it depends on the developer. Prima facie, it's a good creative idea, but your concern is absolutely well-founded. See, ultimately, the builder was trying to get some cash flow in, and for which he has to pay a cost. Either he takes the loan directly from an institution, or he takes the loan via your credentials. But understand that it is your credentials on the basis of which he's taking the money. Now, the money is still flowing to him. Just the fact that he's paying your pre-EMI interest instead of you paying it. So, in the event of any unfortunate event happening, which is that he's either short of funds, either he becomes temporarily bankrupt, or he cannot support the project, ultimately understand this is your liability, because the institution that has given money to the builder has given the money based on your property and based on your agreement. So ultimately, if there is nobody who pays the money, it is your liability to pay this money. So while that is the last resort, or while that is the negative side of things, the brighter and the positive side is, yes, you can buy your property and you won't have to pay that pre-EMI interest. But then you have to assess the builder, the quality of construction, the paperwork, the title, so on and so forth. And like, we've already spoken on the show, you don't have too much of room to negotiate on the agreement whatsoever if you're typically, buying a medium-sized or a small-sized property and not into the luxury
Right,
segment.
and that's why I want to get Vinay in here as well. What is the legal recourse over here? So, I mean, if he doesn't pay the EMI for whatever reason, say the project gets stuck and I am stuck paying off this EMI, what happens? How do I seek redressal?
You can seek redressal if there is an agreement to pay some part of your liability, but that is quite the builder. I mean, your credit history would go for a toss. You would still be liable to pay to the lending institution because it's primarily your liability. So that is a risk you will have to assess. That is this builder a good quality builder? And will he, not tomorrow buckle under and put his hands up and say that I'm not paying your EMI interest? So these are considerations you'll have to take into account before making that decision.
So Vijay, essentially what the panel is telling you is that yes, it's a great way to invest in property. You're also saving some money over here. You're probably getting a backdoor discount from the builder. However, like every investment, this is also fraught with risk. So there is a risk that you're taking on. The risk is that in case the builder defaults, your CIBIL score is the one that's getting affected. Also remember, the builder is financing the building with your home loan, with the rate of interest that you're paying. He's actually getting a cheaper deal over here by getting this, giving you this offer. So, well, both of you all stand to gain. However, do your due diligence, like we keep saying on this channel, research, 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 and only then go ahead and sign that dotted line, right? Let's move on. Suresh Patel writes in via email. Now, he says he wants to buy a 2 BHK on Ghodbandar Road with good connectivity to Navi Mumbai. His budget is 65 to 75 lakh rupees. He's asking you to suggest a few properties, Ashwinder. He wants possession within 2 to 3 years. Ghodbandar Road with connectivity to Navi Mumbai. What would you have to say?
So it is a good location, but I guess he will have to stretch a bit and look at a budget of anything between 85 to 1 crore. There are certain local developers there, like Puranik is there, Ronak is there, who have projects like Sudarshan Sky Gardens, which is next to Lodha Splendor, and you have Puranik Tokyo Bay Ranges. These two projects are good, but both of them are, I think, anything between 85 to 95 lakhs.
Yeah, Ashwinder, but he's very clear that he wants connectivity to Navi Mumbai. So on that aspect, what would you say? Is Ghodbandar Road a good location in that sense?
Not in that sense, not in that sense, but it is a good location to have. You can still get connected to Navi Mumbai. It might be a little longer, but I think you are still connected. You are in between. So, but from a location to invest and the budget that he's looking at, maybe he can still look at Ghodbandar Road.
And what kind of growth can he expect here? There is a metro coming in over there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is going to be a good location, but he'll have to have a minimum horizon of 3 years, if not 5 years. And he can look at a normal to more than normal growth if the economy kind of starts moving the way we are expecting in the next a year or two. So he can look at anything between 15 to 18% in the next 3 years.
15 to 18% in the next 3 years. With that, we are rapidly running out of time. But before we close this very special edition Property Hotline, I want closing comments from all you gentlemen. Kartik, let's start with you first. Interest rates. We saw interest rates actually go down by almost 1.25% in 2015. What can we expect going into 2016? Also, banks have not really passed on all of that interest rate cut yet. And also, there is a new formula that the RBI has thrown into the works. How is that going to impact my home loan?
First, with the RBI's new formula, there will be more transparency, meaning as a borrower, you will be able to very clearly and distinctly see how much you should be charged based on the rate that the bank is going to declare. So until now, it was only the base rate and you had to pay the spread over it, or if it's an NBFC, you have to pay a discount, or you have to deduct a discount on it. So now that will change quite dramatically. You will see benefits happening, not in a very great rush.
So my EMI will go down?
Yes, technically it will go down. So not in a rush, but interest rates will flow downwards. So you should do that. If you have surpluses, don't be in a rush to pay off your loans, invest in equities, make profits there and come back to pay those profits as prepayments. So all these three things could be used in your favor. The new formula, which will help you reduce your rate. Okay, the interest rate themselves will move downwards over the next couple of years. I mean, that's the trend that we see. And then you would make more profits into the equity market and then use those monies to make prepayments. So these are your three-pronged strategy that you should have.
So Fed raising rates is not really going to impact my EMI?
Not dramatically. That will not affect your Indian EMI, obviously. That
No,
is
as
more
in the trajectory that you're talking about, the downward trajectory.
The downward trajectory in India will happen purely because of the growth that will happen in India, which we don't see at the moment happening, but we are all hoping and we are seeing that the corporate earnings will pick up in the next few quarters to come, and that will provide an environment of stability, and which will automatically then prompt RBI to reduce the rates, and therefore you will also benefit as a result.
So that should be enough for a happy new year.
Yes.
Your interest rates will go down, your home loan will get cheaper. Vinay, if I were to buy a home in this new year, what is the one thing that I should be looking at in the agreement to ensure that I don't get stuck?
Well, you have to, and we have good laws, but the problem is the implementation of these laws. So whether it's a regulator or whether it's the existing law, what will make the difference is how you implement the law. So that's the first thing I would like to say. But you must do your due diligence well, see that the builder is good, the land title that he has is clear, his plans are in place, and do argue over that agreement, because this is a very critical decision for you. So if he's going to, fob you off with say 1 rupee or 5 rupees a square foot, but on the other end, he's going to charge you exorbitant rates of interest, levy penalties, terminate your agreement, then you must also have similar rights. So you must hire a professional, an advocate, to advise you on at least the legalities when you're getting into a property. This is not something I think most people are capable of getting into on their own. So that would be my best recommendation to you if you intend to buy a property.
No, but you're still not giving me that one clause that I should be looking for. The one critical clause, 1 or 2 critical clauses.
Well, 1 or 2 critical clauses would be, yes, what are his rights to terminate the agreement? Say number 1, if he is going to, if the project is going to get delayed, then what is the kind of compensation that you would be entitled to? So these are a couple of things which generally people end up suffering. Projects do get delayed. So then how should you be compensated? You might be living on rent and paying a huge amount of rent while that's happening. So please take care of these kind of issues.
So in your view, it would be better to probably negotiate for a better deal on the agreement, then negotiate for a discount.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
No
so
question.
keep remember that you have the upper hand. It's a buyer's market out there. We'll get Ashwinder in to tell us how long it's going to be a buyer's market, but you can still negotiate for a better agreement. Don't just go running after discounts. Ashwinder, you are the man with all the inside knowledge. Tell us, how long will this buyer's market last? How soon should I close that deal on my dream home? And where should I buy in the new year?
So Kavita, let me give you a perspective here. The markets have changed for good. So, what we saw in 2010, 11, maybe 2009 to 10, 2012, those kind of returns, those kind of stuff that was around is not going to happen. It is now we are going to become a more mature market. The last 2-3 years have taught, all of us, the fraternity, a lot of lessons, things that we should not be doing, things that we should be doing. And going forward, like any developed economy, we are going to have an environment where the buyer will have an edge, and the developer will also become far more mature in the way, they are going to look at things and proceed and make commitments. I think the next 1 year, 1.5 years, 4 to 6 quarters are going to be a little soft, after which we will definitely see, the upswing happening. If it happens earlier, corporate earnings are good, the environment is good, FDI investments, kind of again start pouring in, it might be, happening sooner than later, but another 4 to 6 quarters. Till then, yes, buyers will definitely have
4 to 6 quarters, that means you have another, say 18 to 24 months to buy that dream home. That's quite a lot of time to go looking. Now, Ashwinder, tell us, where should we go looking?
So, the top 3-4 markets for me remain, Pune, which is east of Pune, Kalyani Nagar, Koregaon Park, an excellent place to look at investments. Then Bangalore, again, East Bangalore, very good opportunity to look at good developers, good projects. Mumbai,
Where in Bangalore?
East Bangalore is a good place to look at. It is a growing place, and if you are looking at an affordable mid-segment, even North Bangalore has certain opportunities between 50 to 70 lakhs. Mumbai, again, I look at Mumbai as 4 cities. You have Thane, you have Navi Mumbai, you have Western Suburb, and you have South Mumbai. All these 4 pockets have some, good opportunities depending on the budget, depending on whether you're an investor or an end user. You will get some good deals. North is, like Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida. This is chunk of the Indian real estate market. I think 50% of the inventories, are in this part, and this has been the most affected market. So you can get some good deals. There are some category A, B developers here. So look around.
Okay, Ashwinder, you're giving us a big overview. Give me 4 or 5 locations, specific locations here where I can look at getting a good deal and I can get probably a good appreciation in over a 5-year horizon.
So you can look at Kalyani Nagar, you can look at Koregaon Park, then you can look at the Mumbai Road and the Nasik Road in Pune. You will have a good appreciation, and as I told earlier, if you are looking at the affordable segment, your ability to make a 50% to 100% return in 5 years should not be an issue. Gorbandar Road in Thane is very good. Mulund is a good place. Navi Mumbai, Panvel are upcoming areas, and you can have good opportunities of investment if you are looking at Mumbai. In East Bangalore, Whitefield is a great area. Lot of end users, lot of projects. The infrastructure is getting developed. You can look at returns of anything between 20-25% in the next 5 years. Gurgaon, you have Golf Course Extension Road. Lot of properties are now nearing completion. People who are end users can look at it. Excellent deals. You can get into, in an area, in a price band of anything between 7,000 to 8,500, and get a return of around 15 to 25% in the next 5 years. So, whole lot of opportunities across these 4 cities.
Right, so that's quite a laundry list that Ashwinder has given us, and like we've been telling you right from the time we started Magicbricks Now. This is again, we are in a buyer's market after a very, very long time. So if you plan on buying your dream home, this is the time to probably go out and do that. And like our experts told you over here, you have another 18 to 24 months to make that decision. So go ahead, do your research. Like Vinay kept telling you, take advantage of those cheaper home loans like Kartik told you, and look at those locations that Ashwinder listed and buy your dream home in the next year. We wish you all the best for that. And with that, it's a wrap on this special edition. Ashwinder, Kartik, Vinay, thank you very much for joining us. Right? And like I said, it's a wrap on this special edition. A very, very happy new year to all our viewers. Stay tuned to Magicbricks Now.